Hi class, my name is Jordan. First off, I wanted to apologize for the late submission on this assignment. I started my new job recently. It's a night job, and I've kind of been at work or sleeping basically the entire week. Um, Kind of sucks, but I'm doing this thing very, very last second. So I apologize for that. For this week's discussion board, we were required to do a body composition test. We were allowed to pick whatever one we wanted, but I noticed that the Army's tape test was listed among the different ones that we can use, at least ones that our professor mentioned. I chose to go with that because being a prior service NCO in the Army, I am intimately familiar with this test. I have administered it to hundreds of soldiers over the 7.5 years that I was in. So this one just kind of seemed like a no-brainer to me. I will note that there is two versions of the Army's tape test, the body composition assessment that they use. They use an old two-site method. They have reduced it now to a single-site method. The two-site method is the one that I'm primarily going to go over for this assignment, but I did do some work for the single-point one as well, just so we can have some information to reference with that. For the two-site tape test, all it utilized to determine your body fat percentage was your weight, the circumference of your neck, and the circumference of your waist. The circumference of your neck is taken with a tape measure directly over the Adam's apple. The circumference of your waist is taken using a tape measure directly over your navel. Using those, you would solve for the equation, which is a bit longer, so I'm actually just going to put it in the section down below for you guys to read. But yeah, you use your height, your weight, your height, your waist circumference, and your neck circumference to determine your body fat percentage. The newer tape test I'll go over real quick utilizes a number of different points of information. It is a single site tape test. It only uses the waist circumference, but it also includes what gender are you, what is your age, weight, height, and your waist circumference. That is it. I will say my results for both are completely different. There's a wide margin for these two, and I know in my experience implementing the new one right before I got out of the military, that is true for other soldiers as well. All right, go over my results real quick. For the old test, yeah, this is the old one. At 29 years old, 220 pounds, 5'9", with a neck circumference of 16 inches and a waist circumference of 36 inches. My estimated body fat percentage using the old method was 23, slightly over, but the Army regulation, does say to round down. So 23. Utilizing the new one, the single site that only requires the waist measurement of 36 inches for myself, my estimated body fat percentage came out to 18%, so 5% difference there. I did forget to mention, I do not have a tape measure to measure myself. Coincidentally, I did just actually at work, take my measurements for ordering uniforms. So I have a lot more information than just waist and neck, but I did have this information on hand at about a week old, I think, or a week ago I got this information. So I just referenced it right here. It was pretty easy. I will say that 5% difference, 18 for the new method, 23 for the old. I would have to say, in my experience, the older one is a little bit more accurate. Why they switched to the newer model, I can't exactly elaborate on. I don't really know why. I prefer the older method. In my testing, it's just somewhat more accurate. It's still not right on for me. I do in-body tests pretty regularly, and I'm sitting at right around 21%, maybe slightly over. But 23% is closer, so I would probably err towards that one. I will say the Army did acknowledge that this assessment is not perfect, and it does give soldiers a series of different alternatives they can use to challenge it. If you fail the assessment with the newer tape test, you are allowed to request to do the old one to try to pass that one. Wouldn't recommend it. Generally speaking, your older number or the old test, the number is going to be a bit higher actually. If you fail that, the Army has a bunch of resources that soldiers can use. InBody 770, body bod pods, and DEXA scans are all systems that are available for soldiers to utilize to assess their body composition. I kind of think that's all that I have. Yeah, I do. Like I said, I just prefer the older one. It is a bit more accurate, although it's still not perfect, and the Army acknowledges that. But that is a battle of logistics, unfortunately. Um, yeah, let me make sure if I missed anything real quick. Score. Yeah, no. So I've covered everything. I will show the equations and I will show all my calculations in the section below. Thank you.